Vorige week brachten we je het heroïsche verhaal van de Leeuw van Vlaanderen. In deel 3 vertellen we wat er nu echt gebeurd is. En dat is een heel ander verhaal.
Now, what is true about this story? Well, in 1302, Flanders was part of the French kingdom. And the Flemish cities were dependent for their wealth on the trade in English wool. And the French king and the English king were in a huge conflict. So the Count of Flanders really had to choose between his honor or his wallet. And what did he do? Well, he pledged allegiance to the French king, but promised his daughter to the English prince. So, and this is true, the French king really had no other choice than to lock him up. And it's also true that Jacques de Chatillon was sent to Bruges to regain control over Flanders. But it's also true that Pieter de Koning and Jan Breydel killed off his garrison in only one night. So now Flanders really had it coming. Philip sends his army, 8,500 warriors, among which 3,000 knights. Not the 60,000, according to Conscience, although it does make us more heroic. Now, the Flemish force was equally big, but not equally strong. And it's true, they were mostly untrained farmers and craftsmen, paid for by the city of Bruges. Who was in command? The Count of Flanders? He was locked up in a French prison. Well, this guy was Willem van Gulik, a German. And there were two others, Gwijde van Namen, a Walloon, and Jan van Renesse, a Dutchman from Zealand. But what about the heroes of this story? Jan Breydel wasn't there. We only know he delivered meat the night before the battle. Pieter de Koning, we are not sure if he was there or not. Robert of Bethune, the Lion of Flanders, was with his father in France, waiting news from the battlefield. In French, of course, they spoke French. And here we go, July the 11th, 1302, the battle. Well, how did they manage to win the battle? Well, there is the battlefield itself. It contained that old enemy that lives in Flanders, rain. The spring of 1302 was notoriously wet, mind the river. So the Flemish army took position in the field at the side of the city, in between a river and two streams. The French army circled the city and took position on the other side of the stream. So when the French knights attacked, they got stuck in the mud with their horses, and with their heavy weaponry and armor were easy victims for the Flemish foot soldiers. So, occasionally, Flemish rain can be a blessing. After the battle, the Flemish collected the golden spurs from the slain French knights. This is why it would be remembered as Battle of the Golden Spurs. But in today's Flanders, how Flemish was this victory? Well, the city of Ghent chose the side of the French king. Brabant was divided, and they used the battle for their inner conflict. They split up and fought both sides of the battle. There was a small army from Limburg, but they arrived too late. Some things never change. And what about victory? Well, what we tend to forget is that the French came back. 2 years later, at the Battle of Pevelenberg, they beat us and enslaved us again. So you could say that the Battle of the Golden Spurs was actually an accident de parcours in a much larger conflict. So, did Conscience choose the wrong battle? Is there nothing here to hold on to? Nothing to look up to? Well, that's not entirely true. Because if there's one thing that's legendary about this battle, it's the fact that we amazed the whole of Europe by defeating an army of well-trained knights by nothing more than mere peasants with pikes on sticks. They even woke up the Pope to inform him of our victory. What remains today of the battlefield with all its chivalry and heroism? What is left behind when all the fuss dies down in history and the present day? Well, just a peaceful pond of the former Groeningebeek in the garden of a retirement home.